Hattie and I am back with part 2 of Kaleidow's Townhouse. So this is going to be the whole of the interior for the video, and it's only going to be a really short video because I didn't spend that long doing it. It only took me about 50 minutes to finish the whole thing, and then I put it straight on the Sims 4 gallery. So I'm going to leave the links down below if you want to go and download it into your games because it is up there right now. So at this point in the build, I had just put in the walls for the interior of the inside. So what I did was I split up the rooms. I wanted a really big hallway because I wanted lots of space to fit some musical instruments. I wanted a piano over in this area. I thought about whether to have it as a piano or a bar area, but I decided on a piano in the end because I thought that a piano looked much more traditional being there, and I thought that it really did fit in with the build because I think the build itself would definitely be a traditional Greek home, or at least I'd like to think it would be. So I think the inside would definitely match the outside, and I was really focusing on that throughout. So in the hallway I did add a lot of statues and ancient items which maybe the family have collected, or maybe they are a part of the family heirlooms. But what I did here was I put some curtains around the windows because I wanted to incorporate blue in the house. I wanted it to look a lot more traditional, and I think that the last Greek build that I did really did lack in the blue, and I think that if I'd have gone back and redone the interior for that house, I would have definitely included more blue items because what reminds me of Greece is the whole blue and white theme. So I definitely wanted the house to have this, and that's what I really focused on throughout. I also added a treasure chest. I'm not sure what you could put in there. I think it's for items like frogs and insects that you can collect, but I'm not too sure. So I included one of those in the hallway, which you'd have seen, so I was pretty happy with that. This was the kitchen in here, so I used a lot of shelving in here. I wanted the kitchen to look very full. I also wanted it to have a traditional feel in here. So I think in terms of what I used for the cupboards and how I filled the room up, I think that's what looks traditional about it. So it's not a very minimalistic room, and I really tried to be careful with that because I think using white and lots of pale colours, it could potentially make the build look very modern, and I didn't want that. So I thought by cluttering it up a little bit and putting some bookcases in and maybe some family items in here, then it really did help the build, and I think that's what really made it. At some point I did go back to this room and I changed the floor tiles, but I can't remember when it was. So it might be towards the end of when I did the kitchen, but at this point I was just putting in the final details. I also remembered a bin, which I was actually very happy about because usually I do forget the bins. It's a very easy item to forget, especially as it's not categorized with anything from the appliance range, which is a little bit strange, but that's that. This was when I did the floor tiles, so what I did was I just incorporated some more blue and white. I think that for this room, that's what looked really lovely because especially as it is a little bit different to the rest of the flooring for the rest of the build, I did stick to the stone colours and I didn't use any carpets. I think I did end up with quite a bit of wood as well, so I think maybe some of the stone stays, some of it changes to wood, but you'll see that. But yeah, I think the kitchen flooring was quite nice in the end, and I like the contrast between the floorings of the build. I was also then changing the wallpapers throughout. I wanted to go for pastel colours, but I didn't want to go for anything too bright or completely out the ordinary for this build, like pink or orange or anything like that. So I stuck to blue, green and white, and I think I had a pink room upstairs, but I'm not too sure. This is when I was trying to make the build look paler, especially in the hallway and also the lounge area. So I did do that, and I had a real mess around with the flooring throughout the build. It was something that I was really undecided about. So luckily I did find the right choicing in the end, which I think looks pretty good, but there we go. This was the lounge. So the lounge was quite small, but I didn't want it being that big because I had a special seating area outside for the family, and I really hope that at some point Kaleidow will be able to use the lounge area for the family that she'll move in here. If she does move a family in here, then I think that it will be a really special house for them, and I think that the family that I would imagine to live here would be an artsy family, a family that really enjoys arts and music and really fun things like that, because this would be a really good house for me because I love art and music and things like that. But what I did though is I put in a lot of art easels and things like that throughout the house, so a lot more than usual. So I think there's about 3 art easels in this build, but that might not seem like a lot, but because it's a very small house, it can feel like a lot when you see each room has an art easel in, or at least almost every single room. What I was doing here though is I was experimenting with the different floorings. I thought about grey, and I want to come back to that at some point because what we're seeing at the moment, I love it. I really like that colour, and I think that I want to use that for a build in the future. I think for a modern build, maybe a modern industrial build, which I'm planning to do at some point, I think that that would be a really good flooring for it, so I will definitely keep that in mind and hopefully I'll be able to use it in the future. Now I did put the study outside, which was a very unusual choice for me, and in an everyday environment that would be completely unpractical, especially if you're in an area where lots of people will nosy in your windows and they might thieve things. Luckily we don't have thieves on The Sims 4, so it's quite okay that they're very expensive computers outside there, but usually you wouldn't want that for your house. But I think it looks quite nice anyway, and I was happy with how the overall outside appearance turned out. And this was the bathroom in here. So the bathroom was blue and white again. I love the floor tiles. Unfortunately, they don't stay because I just thought they were too bright. But of course, you can change them back if you want to. I think that they would look nice. I mean, I just thought that the other ones just looked a little bit more neutral and it just blended in a little bit more, which I really wanted. I also did include on the bathroom a sink, which wasn't really a sink. It was a little fountain that we got with the new stuff pack, which was the romantic garden stuff pack. It looks a little bit like urinal, but I still like it. I think it still looks nice, and I was pretty happy with how the overall look turned out of that one. So this was the upstairs. I had real trouble with the upstairs part because what I was trying to do is I was trying to make an overhang with the staircase, and that can sometimes be very, very difficult, and it can sometimes take me quite a while to do. So I had to really mess around with the roofing, and I had to delete quite a lot of it, but I mean, you wouldn't even see it on the outside of the build. I was really just moving it back, which wouldn't make a difference of the overall appearance. It was just making sure that none of it would overlap and you wouldn't be able to see any roofs on there. So in the end, I fixed it, luckily. Sometimes it's very difficult to fix though, and it does require a lot of moving around. So hopefully in the future it will be fixed and we will have our wonderful overhang roofings that will come back into our games. But anyway, so what I was doing is I was decorating the second floor, which was the last floor because I didn't include a third floor for this build. I don't think I did, which was rather unusual for me because I sometimes like them there just for decoration, even if I don't use them, but this build was a rare case, I think. But yeah, so what I was doing is I was trying to figure out where I would have the bedrooms, and I was also trying to figure out who would live in this build, because this was the point where I was really thinking to myself, how did I want to decorate the bedrooms? Because I like to fit the bedrooms around the Sims' personalities, and I would imagine that in this build maybe 3 or 4 Sims would live here, maybe a family of 3 or 4, and that's what I was trying to imagine. I was trying to think about what their rooms would look like and how they'd be set out, and I had a lot of fun doing that. This was the main bedroom, or at least one of the main bedrooms, so it's actually very small, but for a 30 by 20, I think it's actually quite a large room, and it's a practical room. I mean, it just is there to solve a purpose, which is sleep, so I think for that, it's pretty good, and it is a small room. It's smaller than a lot of my bedrooms that I have done in the past, because I usually like big bedrooms and grand master bedrooms, and if you really wanted that, then you could knock down the wall in the middle there, and you could have this all as one room, which would look really special. It's up to you though. I mean, it's on the Sims 4 gallery. If you want to go and do that, you can, and let me know what you do with it, because I love to hear what people do with my builds after I've uploaded them onto the Sims 4 gallery. But this in here was a little games room. I thought about putting a pink table in here with some Jenga on there. I love Jenga, and I think that the family would just really enjoy Jenga themselves, especially if it was a family living here, because I love to think about family games and things for houses like this, especially for family builds. So I think that that room looks pretty good, and I was happy with how it turned out overall. This room here was a room for a teenager or a child. I couldn't really decide on which, so I left it very basic, but it is a big enough room to have some hobby items in here if you wanted to. I put a violin, and I also put some general things around the room. Oh, I put a big dragon. So it must have been for a child. I mean, a teenager could have that, if they wanted to, but maybe it's more suited to a child with the cuddly toy there, and I think it looks quite nice. Put some tapestry on the wall there because I love the tapestry that we got with the new stuff pack, I think it is. I'm not sure if it was for the movie Hangout stuff pack or the Romantic Garden stuff pack. I think it was the movie Hangout stuff pack, looking back at it, but I really like it and I thought that it was a nice feature to that room. And then I just finished off with the bathroom there, and I was just adding some curtains in, and I was trying to remember what else I needed. I remembered this little area out there, so I just put a canvas outside, and that is the end of the build. So I really hope you enjoyed it, and I hope to see you all for future videos. Thank you so much for watching, and I'm going to show you the screenshots now.